counselors at the Center for Career Calling. I haven't met you yet. And I am absolutely delighted to introduce our speaker today. It's our Assistant Professor of Clothing and Textiles, Dr. Raedene Copeland. She also does consulting for brand and image. So is that right? Am I saying that right? So she's our resident expert on how to look awesome and professional. So let's give her a welcome.
How y'all doing? Good? Yeah. I just taught some people who looked like you, so it's just an extension. Okay, so just to get started, you should have one of these forms, right? Okay, good. That'll be fun. Little new addition this year. And then, where is this? Okay, and then if you gave your email address, I requested that they email you this like guideline. But it's kind of expensive to print out. You know, the struggle is real. So you will get an email of this, and it will give you all the like specific guidelines for, you know, like how to dress and how long things should be and so forth. And we'll kind of touch on it a little. But yeah, you should get a copy, and you could always keep that downloaded on your computer, and you would be good to go. All right. Let me make sure this. Oh. Y'all wasn't looking at anything. Y'all could tell me. Y'all just, you know. My students do me this all the time. I'm like, you could have told me you wasn't looking at anything. Yeah, this is good. Oh, look at that. Now let's do this. Whee. Okay, so this document here. Y'all didn't even, that's funny. Okay, yeah, so this is what I'm going to send to y'all, and it's going to have like all the rules to dressing and how things should fit. Female, casual options, right? The shoes, which suit color should match which shoe color, what colors mean, and budget resources and so forth. So you'll get this in your email. This is what I was saying, like it's kind of expensive to print, you know. We rich, but, you know, not that rich. Okay, so that'll be fun. Okay, so let me just get started. My name is Dr. Raedene Copeland, and I've been here for 7 years. Just got 10 years, so I'm like here to stay. You're stuck with me. I'm from Trinidad and Tobago, so that's why I'm kind of like bubbly, have an accent. I think I made the list of like top 5 accents in the world. We're a big deal. So my approach is usually more of a, I'm from an island. I can't help it. That's where people go to get their groove back. So I'm just more laid back. And we're going to have fun. I'm going to crack some jokes. I'm going to hope you get it. It's just my personality. But outside of this, I teach in, actually not outside, I teach in the apparel merchandising program. My background is in business. So I did undergrad in business. I did my MBA. And then I didn't want to do like a general PhD. And I really, really liked the socioeconomic implications of what like your appearance like communicates in society, right? So my line is always, I did my PhD with a focus on the apparel industry and dress because I think it really affords you or denies you opportunities. There are some things that you can change and some things you can't, but we know that we don't live in a perfect world, and we know that people constantly, like each of you constantly make assessments of people based on just their appearance. I mean, they don't even have to speak, So the whole point of this is land the job before you speak. And the idea is to get you thinking more broadly of yourself as a product or a brand. And that's always my approach. And I always tell students to think of the products you really like, think of what you always buy, and why do you buy it. And then if you think of yourself in that headspace of, like every time I interview, someone has to choose me. It's no different to when you go to the grocery and you're really hungry or you have your favorite thing. Like if you wanted to try a new type of drink or a new pack of chips or something else, why do you choose one over the other? That makes sense? So it's kind of like re-envisioning or restructuring the way you view yourself. I know that, we're at a Christian university. Hooray, this is good. We love Jesus. And the thing about it is that people also have maybe in some, your religious sects may have a negative association with appearance, right? You may be socialized saying, render your garments, not your heart. That's the line? Yeah, okay. So you may be socialized to be like, my appearance is not that important. I should be smart and kind and all that. That's great. But the point is, and the reality is that you don't live in a world with everyone who thinks like you, right? Like people don't think like you. You're not, I mean, if you're applying at your church, that's fine. But outside of your church, people are going to judge you based on the context of what you're interviewing for. Why? Because it indicates your level of preparedness. It indicates your level of seriousness for what you say you want to do. So I work with individuals and corporations, helping them kind of like refine their brand. You know, that's what it is. My business is a chief brand consultant. Just do that to the side, Summers. But it's important because the idea of a brand is not just your clothing, right? So you can go to a workshop where they just focus on wear this, wear that. But for me, I like to carry you through the theoretical like underpinnings and why you should care. Because somebody could dress you for a day, but that doesn't really transform the reason why. This is like the best tool you can have to influence people. Y'all with me? Good, good, good. So, outlook. That's the point, right? So, you're like this little pearl in an oyster, right? And that's what I'm saying, you know, like you have your family, you have your church, you have your friend. But the point is that you're just a pearl in this big oyster. So you just kind of have to figure out how to navigate the society you're in, right? So you have the whole society, but then you have that industry that you're going to be transitioning into upon graduation. And then it's all about the outlook. But the thing with that outlook is that, you know, there's this theorist called Stone, and he's from 1960 something. But his theory was so sound that people still cite it. And his idea is that you have to come up with a program for yourself. And that's kind of like some of the things we'll go with that form. You have to decide how you want to be perceived by the world. Okay? And that becomes the program that you set. So you say, you know what? I want people to think I'm this, this, and this, and this. And once you figure that out, then now you start to build that brand for yourself. So then, once it's going to take a while, you know, Rome wasn't built in a day. So you're going to start, you know, trying to change the way you dress, change the way you speak, be more aware of like your nonverbal communication. When you sit down, do you slouch? You know those things that your parents keep telling you do? And you used to keep fighting them as a teenager, but when you're ready to make money, you're like, I may want to tap into that advice. Okay, that I'm talking about. So because that's what I'm saying, it's even before you speak, people, they're looking at how you carry yourself. Do you walk like this? Do you not make eye contact? Do you smile? Do you just have an assertive stance? You know, on the negative side, are you too pushy? You know, people just know, like, do you just not look friendly? All of these things you have to start to master because that becomes your brand identity. And the best example I give my students is that, you know, I love all my students, but when corporations come calling, there are only a couple of students I remember, or students I would refer to make our program look good. Let's be clear, right? So you want to be that person that people always have top of the mind, like brand awareness or brand recall, and be like, ooh, this person will be good for that position, right? And the only way you can do that is by being intentional. I mean, some of you we were all born fabulous, but you know, there are things we have to work on, and that's my point. Like, it's a lot of strategy, and sometimes people look at other people and they're like, oh, this person's always put together and this and that, but that person took work. That person, you know, like, decided that he or she wanted to appear this way, and even maybe in high school when people were picking on that person, when they got to college and to corporate, they were better prepared because they figured out how to focus on the things that mattered in terms of that initial first impression. Right? So y'all with me? Yeah, this is good. Okay, so where do you want to work? All of this whole idea of branding and dress and so forth, especially since we're in techie Seattle, because I came from like North Carolina, that's why I did my schooling, and it's totally different. I mean, people dress up like way more. Or I heard even in like Texas and stuff, you know, like the big hair don't care. You know, like I know in Texas and those where people dress up way more, but in Seattle, because it's so techie, it may be a little different. However, there are multiple industries, you know, in Seattle still, you know, you have the fashion industry, you have mainly the tech industry and so forth. So according to your major, you have to figure out like what company you want to work on, what industry you're going into, and then figure out what is the brand identity there? Figure out the culture, right? So that is why I have on the form, you know, like what is your desired company and what is the corporate culture of that company? Because even within those companies, those tech companies, according to who the CEO is and what brand culture they want to develop, there may be slight differences. Like some people may look like they literally fell off their bed and started working. And some people may dress a little nicer according to the corporation. And the reason why there are these differences is the exact reason why I want you to focus on your brand. It's because there's a lot, like this is the market, but all of these corporations, for them to be successful, they're vying for the best. So I know I read an article the other day where they were giving out, what is that? Teslas. They were giving Teslas, right? Exactly, wrong industry. Me. Yeah, okay, they were giving out Teslas to new hires. What does that tell you? The competition is stiff for good talent. So you want to figure out, okay, what is the industry? What am I going for? And clearly these people will pay you a lot, but you have to be the best of the best, right? Okay, good. So you figure that out, you put your desired company, you put what their corporate culture is, which is not all going to be the same. This is why you have to do your research. Call the HR person before you interview and be like, hey, don't mean to be annoying. I just want to know, do you have any specific tips for people coming to interview? You have to kind of do your homework, right? All right. So, yeah, so that's what I have. Fill out that first part. Have you all filled it already? Take a moment and fill out that top quarter part. Desired company. If you know the company, then you may kind of know their corporate culture. I'm hoping if you have a desired company, you kind of been following them or stalking them a little. I'm hoping. Stalking is legitimate when you want a job, just not in relationships. Okay, and then dress of employees, right? Do they wear suits? What kind of company would wear suits to work? It will be more traditional. What type of corporation? Law firms, banking, lawyers, you see? Okay, there's law firm lawyers. Accounting firms, right? You can see dress. Okay, fashion forward. What kind of company would want their employees to look fashion forward? Pardon me? A design, right? Nordstrom, all these kind. If you're in the fashion industry or maybe even an interior design or something, they may want people to look like they're aware on what's trending, right? Okay, casual. You know, that could just be like the average tech company. I mean, that's how I could identify sometimes people work at Microsoft, you know, just the average casual. And then uniform. Some of you may be in a science field where you may wear uniforms in the lab or something. You may wear a coat, so then your dress may not be as important, but definitely your, you know, like how you keep your hair and so forth, that may matter, right? So I put in uniform there because I know there are a range of majors here, which excites me a lot. Okay, so you give me that part? Cool. Okay, so this is what I'm saying, right? So you have a good match. You have your industry, right? Your broad industry, right? Which would have a brand on its own and stereotypes on its own. The organization you want to work with, that's going to have its own culture. You know, we all know, I mean, just even here, we know there's a difference. Let me see if you all know. You all know there's a difference between Amazon and Microsoft in terms of corporate culture, right? Y'all know this? Okay, what is the stereotype of Amazon in terms of corporate culture? Like if you want to go work there, what are the things you do? Quick pace, yeah. Anything else? Young, okay.
High turnover.
Right, that's what I'm like. That might be related. Yeah, okay, yeah. So good. And then if you hear Microsoft, what are some of the stereotypes you have of Microsoft? As a tech company, y'all have any? Just... That may be the stereotype. It's just like, y'all just like, Okay, yeah, so Microsoft, from, you know, my friends who work there and so forth, it seems to be a lot more laid back. They can have intense moments during the year, but not intense all the time. But Amazon has that stereotype of more A-type personality, very intense, you know. It's either you could, you know, swim or you sink. So sometimes that's why their turnover is high, because it's a more intense culture. And this is what I'm saying. If you do your homework, you will kind of avoid just taking any job. You would kind of be a lot more strategic in figuring out these things that would be a better match for you. So within that, now you think of your occupation, right? So like in a science lab, yeah, the chemists, and they may wear like lab coats, or the doctors may wear, but, you know, in a hospital, the doctor may, you know, have on this lab coat. But if you work at the receptionist desk, it may be different. So you see, so you have the corporation, which you have to fit into their culture, but then you also want to look at the occupation and what are the specifics for that. And then the individual. And the reason that's important is because regardless of what, remember, you want them to remember you. You're interviewing against other people. So even though you're trying to fit into that corporate culture, you also want to be distinct and memorable. Okay, and that's the point. It's just you want to be like, how do I take my unique qualities and communicate it in every facet of my life? So when I step in the room, how am I going to be remembered? Because sometimes people don't remember your name, but they remember something about your appearance. They'll be like, I know it's this person. I can't remember the person's name. But they know that you're distinct from everybody else. And then there are just some people you don't ever remember, right? Because they just blend in. Okay? Okay, so good. So defined, a brand is a name, term, design, symbol, or any other feature that identifies one seller's product distinct from those of other sellers. Right? So that's what I'm trying to help you. I'm trying to get you to know yourself so then you could be distinct in your appearance. So I always like this because I feel as if it's just so powerful. Like you could go get coffee anywhere, right? But once they put their brand name on that cup, you're going to be paying for like premium coffee. You're going to be paying, Starbucks. You're going to be paying more for all those calories because you know they got a lot of sugar in there. You're going to pay for it. But you know what? You can't be mad at them, right? This is the point. It's the best example of branding, that to brand yourself and for these corporations to build such a strong brand equity, they did a lot of research, a lot of planning. They hired the best people and they understood their target market. Like for you, your target market would be the corporation that you're trying to get into. They studied all of these things and they did it consistently so they can communicate a consistent message. And that's what I'm saying. Whatever your name is, be it like Sherry, Tom, Dick, Harry, whatever, when people hear your name, you want them to immediately have the associations you want them to associate your name with. Does that make sense? So when you think of Starbucks, what immediately comes to your mind as a brand? Like, what do you think of Starbucks? Everywhere, multiple locations. So that means it's what? Accessible, convenient, good. That's a strong positive. What else when you think of Starbucks? And their brand. Like, what else do you think about them? No, you don't have anything else? Consistent. You know what to expect. Wouldn't you say they have good customer service? I mean, they'll give you a cup of coffee in a quickness. I mean, you're like, oh my God, I almost feel guilty. You're so nice to me. I'm like, okay, thanks. But that they decided that these are the brand adjectives that are going to describe them, and they just work it. And they're like, look, I remember I did a management training program with Enterprise Rent-A-Car, right? Like that's the after undergrad, did business management, they hire college grads, one of the best management training programs ever. But I will never forget when I got to the managerial level. I mean, they told us this all the time, but when you get to the managerial level and it start coming out of your pockets, if your store do well, these messages, they sink a little faster. But they used to say, if it reaches to the area manager, that entire rental is free. That's what, so it was like the employees, the assistant manager, the manager. If it reached to the area manager, if a customer has to call him, he was like the entire rental is free, and some of them in the car for a whole month. So that comes out of our profit. So they were so committed to such a high standard of customer service excellence that they put this structure in place to where we had to kind of defy our like selfish, ornery nature and be like, oh, well, I mean, it's coming out of my pocket. Let me see how I can help you a little further, right? Because you know, that's the point. When you decide this is how you want to be perceived, then you have to fall in line. So if right now you might be doing well, but if you say, you know what, I want to be perceived as organized or really polished, it's going to take some work, but after doing it for a long time, it's just going to become you, right? So I'm just saying you have to kind of set these standards like all of these other corporations, and then you're going to be able to demand more. Right? You're going to be able to demand more salary, so forth, because when they call you reference checks, when you step in, everything just kind of is very seamless. Right? Good. Good. So, your nonverbal right? Which is what I was saying, like, if you're just walking and you don't say anything, communicates louder, right? That includes your dress, like what you're wearing, your physical features, color your skin, how your hair is, and then just your body posture. And then, in your nonverbal, people get your attitude and so forth. You ever look at somebody and decide, like, they don't look trustworthy? I mean, this is my point. Like, people making, like hardcore judgments on people's character without even saying a word. A lot of this is socialization, right? But some of it could be experience. But the point I'm making to you is that's why you have to understand the culture you're in, the industry you want to get in, and understand what are the stereotypes there, and work that to your advantage. Because you know that you're making snap judgments of people every day, so people doing it to you too. I mean, fair game, right? So you want to make sure your nonverbal, which we're talking about today, is really communicating the way you want to be perceived, the way you want to be positioned amongst your competition, right? And then you want to make sure that it matches the environment you're interviewing in, right? And then when you speak, that's when you crystallize all your hard work, right? So there are some people, you meet them, you're like, I always tell my students, you see this good-looking person, and you're so excited, and as soon as the person starts speaking, you're like, You're just so disappointed, you're like, you were supposed to speak the way you look, right? So, that person could just do a little more work on speaking and intelligence. But we've all had that experience where, somebody spoke and you're like, oh my God. And it couldn't even be like, it doesn't even have to be lack of intelligence. It could just be like a monotone voice where you're like, oh, a high-pitched voice and a boy. Or something that's just like, you're just like, oh, a low-pitched voice and a girl, which, I mean, sign me up. How you doing? Yeah, but the point is, like, it could be anything, but it's all depending on what you like, right? So that's what I'm saying. It's like you have to make sure that all of these things coincide and come together, right? Okay, so your brand identity, it's the outward expression of the brand, right? So you have your name, right? And this is why when you have your kids, be kind to them, Lord knows. That's why some kids have to go by their middle name, I mean. Anyways, you have your name, you have your trademark. Some companies have their trademark. Or I always give this example of this student when I was teaching in Greensboro, like during my PhD. I always had, and this is the point, like you want people to remember you and talk about you, right? I always talk about her. She would show up to class every day in like a baby tee and jeans and pearls. And that was her brand. And to me, that became her trademark. Because even if I don't remember her name, I'm like, I remember her because she was consistent. And then let's fast forward to now. I have a friend, she calls herself the Pearl Hiker. So she hikes all the time, but she hikes with pearls. I'm being recorded. She hikes with pearls, and but that is her brand. Like, that is her brand. And that's kind of cool, right? Because at the end of the day, once you're within the scope of the environment and the industry and whatever you're doing, she could hike how she wants, right? The point is that we're talking about her, right? Because what did she do? She differentiated herself. I mean, you know how easy it would be to find if she get lost? The girl with the pearls, right? The point is that she differentiated herself, so it's easy to remember her, talk about her, find her, refer her. You're not a girl who hike with pearls? Good. So then you have communications, right? And that is your nonverbal communication and whatever you put out there. It could be your writing, your resume. All of your resume, all of that stuff, all of that is kind of part of your nonverbal, right? Because it's saying something, but it's not you actually speaking. And then your visual appearance. So I always give this example of, it's like two extremes, but like visual brand identity. You can almost, I'm sure, because this example is to show you how these companies have already programmed your mind without even seeing the name. You could make a judgment on the companies. Okay, so what company could have an ad like that? Nike. Why you think so? They're into sporting goods. Uh-huh. Why not Lululemon? You see? Exactly. Any of y'all work in Nike? You work Nike sometimes? You buy? right. That's my point. So my point is that you don't even work at Nike, but you already could communicate to somebody how Nike is differentiated. And you're like, no, Nike is not Lululemon because Nike has, that's my point. Y'all getting it? Good. So what will be this? Besides a guy with a six-pack. Hollister, right? Because they just make, oh my God, you know who's really like guilty too? Y'all ever see those Calvin Klein ads? This is my major, I teach this stuff, conveniently. Yeah, so the point is that it's ridiculous. Like they're advertising a lot of nakedness, but the point I'm saying is that even if you are upset about it, we know who they are. Like when we see it, we're like, it's Abercrombie Fitch, Hollister. We know. I mean, you just have to smell that perfume from that cologne. So yeah, and you know who it is. Like all of that is nonverbal. Like the point that you maybe wear consistent perfume or cologne. There are so many ways where you could be distinct that I always say you're just leaving money on the table. Like if you want people to remember you and you want to like kind of usurp your competition, start being really strategic with all these things that people sometimes say like don't matter, but it does. It does. Oh yeah, I didn't mean intentionally, you know. The only reason, I mean, this is relevant, right? That my example is, you know, that at the end of the day, political campaigns are basically won and lost or whatever, all by attitude branding. But all of that has to do with the zeitgeist. Do you know what a zeitgeist is? A zeitgeist is the spirit of the times, right? So that's what I'm saying. So even if you get it together now and you perfect your brand with the culture today, if you never evolve in the next 20 years, you're going to be that person people talking about, she is so outdated, right? So the point is, your attitude and your branding, it still has to match with the spirit of the times. Like, what are they wearing now? What is, you know, like kosher to do now, right? So it doesn't matter, like, what you think about these two candidates. The point is that Donald Trump won maybe because he matched the spirit of the times or wherever we're at, right? Just as an example of attitude branding. Regardless of what you think, the point is that he won. So whatever they did in branding, it worked for him to get the votes, right? And that's what you want. You want to land the job, right? And even with that attitude, right, you have that brand trust. So I want to cite this study, like the Harvard Review. They did this, they cited this research where they had like just a target market. Like look at candidates, presidential candidates, without them talking. They just had them on mute. And every time they decided who won. Without even hearing anything they're saying. They just looked at their body language and how they were dressed and if they slouched. You know, some people, they're always nervous. I remember the year when Mitt Romney ran. That would be like, what, 4 years ago. And he was the one that was drinking all the water. I'm just saying like little things. So then maybe somebody like watching that without hearing what he was saying would have concluded like he's not very confident. He's very nervous. That's the type of thing I'm talking about. Like a lot of stuff that you may subconsciously do that you don't even realize that you do. So you have to kind of like, if you want to be serious about it, you kind of have to go to like some of your closest friends and be like, what do I do all the time? Do I always like pass my hand in my hair? My mom was telling me that I play with my locks a lot in Trinidad. I was like, for real? Thanks. I didn't know, right? There's a lot of things that you do that may communicate something that you're not intending to communicate, but it's so like second nature, right? It's so subconscious to you that you may not know that you're communicating an unintended message with some of the nonverbal things you do. All with me? Yeah? Good. So, my formula is you have to first figure out who you are. A lot of people, as I said, they don't really know who they are. I mean, it sounds like just common sense, but I think we all evolve. And I think that because you're in a society where maybe it pushes you to be more humble, that sometimes when people ask you a question like, tell me about yourself, why do most of us get nervous? Because you're not accustomed talking about yourself. You know, you may do well in school, you may do all those strategic stuff, but when it comes to like marketing yourself, you prefer somebody else talk for you, but you're not always going to have that opportunity. So you kind of really have to dig deep and focus on who you are as an individual, right? Come up with your authentic self. Don't try to be your roommate. Don't try to be your best friend. Be you. There's only one you, right? Everyone else is taken. I love that quote. And then repeat it. Just keep repeating it, repeating it, repeating it. You may not always get it right. I mean, I came from an island where I remember I came to the US with like $300. So I worked like a couple of months and the exchange rate is 6 to 1. So it was $300 and then somehow $100 got lost in New York. I hope it's having a good time because I needed it. And, I didn't have like a lot of money when I was in undergrad. So over time, I had to figure out this new system. Clothes was a lot cheaper in America. But the point I'm making is that you don't get to a stage, like oftentimes you see people's end product, but you don't see like the amount of like mistakes they had to make along the way to get to the point where they have a standardized brand. Right? So just be kind to yourself, but make sure that you practice until people are like, oh my God, like, so the first thing, like if you do something different, they're gonna be like, oh, what's going on with you? They're gonna think that, you have a new love in your life or something going on. People always like, there must be a reason because this is an anomaly. But after a while, they'll be like, oh, this is just one day that person made a change, So that's kind of like what you wanna go with. So the product, as I said, you're the product or the service that a company would be hiring this service from you. So you want to make sure, you're constantly marketing yourself. Even when you don't think you're marketing yourself, right? Because why? Because your nonverbal speaks for you, even if you're not trying to talk to the person, right? So you're marketing yourself always. So what's on the outside must match what's on the inside. Right? Because you don't want to go market yourself as one thing and then you get the job and you don't last more than 3 months. They're like, yeah, after the trial period, we decided not to move forward with you. Why? Because you were great in the interview, but you really didn't really communicate your authentic self. So you really want, not only do you want that job, but you yourself want to make sure that you know yourself well enough that you're also vetting that company to make sure that you all will be a good match. And I think sometimes that is, you don't come across like if but you definitely go in there and be like, I want to make sure that this job is a good fit for me. So tell me more about your corporate culture. Right? Because you want to stay. And a lot of companies, they invest so much time interviewing. It costs money, even though we don't. It costs money for them to not be doing their jobs, to sit and interview you, that they want to make sure that you're really invested in being with them for the long term. Because they don't want to have to rehire somebody in a year, right? So think of it from that perspective. Right? And the interviewer is the consumer. Right? Yeah. All right, so that's my point. Like you kind of want to be memorable. You want to kind of stand out in the crowd, but you want to stand out for being uniquely you. There may be a company that may offer you a job, but then in the end, you will decide that I don't feel like I can be myself in this company. You know what I mean? Some companies are a little more uptight, some companies are a little more lax. You have to know like what you operate better under. And then sometimes say no to opportunities. Like you have value when you could tell people no. That's when you have value. You'll be like, you know what, I actually don't have another job right now, but I know you are not it. That is like a really powerful statement. Why? Because it moves you away from desperation. It's like, I know my worth. Now, I'm not telling you don't take no job if you can't pay your rent. But I'm saying if you're going back home living with your parents and you have some room, like a couple, they gave you 6 months to find a job, make sure that you get into something that is a really, really good match for you. Okay, so now I want you to fill out part 1 of your brand image statement. And this is where you're going to go to the back of your thing first and do this first. Circle 3 positive adjectives and 3 negative adjectives. And then when you finish, right, you have a lot. When you finish, you're going to go back and fill in adjective 1. So this is positive adjective 1, 2, 3, and then negative adjective 1, 2, 3. But make sure it's uniquely you. Who wants to go? Who wants to go first? I know y'all are so excited to share. I use this strategy in my class all the time. You're so excited. Like, raise your hand. Oh my God, look how many hands. Thank you. Okay, say your name and then.
My name is Teresa.
Teresa. Okay.
You want me to read your name?
Yeah, read the sentence, yeah.
When I step into a professional setting, I want people to immediately think that I'm thoughtful, dedicated, and creative, not arrogant, careless, and ignorant.
Well, doesn't that sound good? You're like, yeah, this is good. I have some direction. Who wants to go next? Somebody on the left side. Somebody on the left side. Oh, yeah. You want to go? You ready? Good. Say your name and then go.
I'm Catherine.
Yes.
So when I step into a professional setting, I would like people to immediately think that I am confident, cultured, and happy, and not boring, sad, and tight.
I like the cultured and the boring. Like when you're wrong boring, you know you're wrong boring. And I like the cultured. Good job. I like that. Okay, to the right side. Who wants to go? We have 3 people. Okay, good job. Say your name and then.
My name is Joelle, and when I step into a professional setting, I would like people to immediately think that I am boundless, cultured, and encouraging, not arrogant, disagreeable.
What? This is some good stuff. Okay, these 2 guys, y'all look like thinking real deep. Like, so you want to share? Did you finish it yet, or you still? Okay, what is your name? Oh, that's a smooth name to go with the hat. I like it. Good branding. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. What is this?
So when I step into a professional setting, I would like people to immediately think that I'm kind-hearted, trustworthy, and mature, not arrogant, obnoxious, and pompous.
Oh, that's lovely, lovely. So we wouldn't let him off the hook. What's your name?
I'm Jared. When I step into a professional setting, I would like people to immediately think that I am dynamic, funny, and mature, not gullible, materialistic, and thick skinned.
What? This is good stuff. Yeah, and I like the compliment of like funny and mature, because like that's my whole thing, you know. I tell my students all the time, you know, I'm a goofball, you know, I'm from an island, I'm professor, and I'm a professor, right? So professors, you get all brands of professors. So I'm in the right industry for myself, so I could be boundless. How you doing? But the point is that I will still fail them. And that's the difference. Like, I decided that I'm going to be that funny, you know, like professor that my students could relate to. That's who I am. I'm going to stay authentic, but they know I will fail them. Like, they know the classes are hard. And I think that's important for you to keep the things that make you unique. Everyone wants someone that is, you know, like that could ease up a situation that's not too intense, but yet they respect that person because they're like, you know, he's really funny, but he's really on top. Like, he's like the best person. Like, that's like the best combination, right? So I like that you all are figuring out from those words things that you feel you're authentic in, and just go with that, you know, like go with it, you know. So let me get one more person from the back there. Who wants to go in that back room there? You want to go? Okay, say your name and then tell us.
My name is Devin, and when I step into a professional setting, I'd like to immediately think that I am bright, ambitious, and dynamic, not abrasive, lazy, and obnoxious.
Ooh, lazy, yeah. I like that, yeah. So y'all like that exercise? And you know what? Every couple of years, you know, you could just do it over. You could look at those things when you go to the interview and just really, it's really hard, right? Because you have all these words and all of them are positive. And usually when I do these branding exercises with my students, I'll never forget one time a student was like, oh, my 3 brand adjectives. Now, mind you, you know, I've been with my students for 4 years, so I know them. She's like, I am respectful, innovative, and timely, punctual. I was like, no, you're not. I'm like, let's just keep it real. I'm trying to help you get a job. Like, the point is that some things sound good, but people will be like, you are not punctual. Just because it sounds good, there are many positive adjectives. Just take the ones that really, really define you, right? Because that's how you're going to be better. Y'all get the drift? Good, good. I like y'all. Good, so now we get to the dress part. And we'll go to questions. So, you know, just going through, you know, this is why I spend more time on the branding, because I feel like these are like items of clothing, but you see like how I reprogram your brain, then now this means something more to you than if I just came in and be like, oh, you wear this shirt. Like, it wouldn't go anywhere, right? So women's essentials, of course, your suit pants, a suit, pants, skirt, dresses. Now, just to let you know, you can do your research on your own. Like, skirts would have a different, like, what's the word I'm looking like, appeal to a pantsuit, right? So sometimes, you know, I know like Hillary Clinton, she wore a lot of pantsuits, right? Michelle Obama, she wears a lot of skirts. You see what I'm saying? All about brand positioning. So maybe when, you know, like a woman is running for the presidency, maybe she doesn't want to be deemed in any way as too feminine. She wants to, you know, because she has to push against this still relatively patriarchal society. So that's what I'm saying. Like, you're just looking at them dressed in clothes and you think like they're just doing whatever. But they have brand consultants like intentionally choosing the color they wear, choosing if they wear pants or skirt, what type of jacket, right? Because it matters, right? Because people have subconscious stereotypes that they use to make quick judgments, right? So a blazer, blouses, shirts, always have a black dress, which you should know, a nice solid color dress. And what I would say is that when you think of your whatever color you're going to use, definitely like go with that power color. They call it that power color. So it could be that color that every time you wear like this certain shirt or top or whatever, people always compliment you and you're like, what? You may not even think you're looking good that day, but that color does something for you and people keep complimenting you. So all you have to do is record that color and just buy more stuff in it. Because clearly that's when people think you look cute. So go with that. It's really, really simple, right? So, well, yeah. So then you have like, of course, a world coat. And that's what I say. All of these things are just kind of like standard, right? Leather, link, leather band or watch. I mean, I wouldn't go to the interview in your fit watch, but that's just me personally. I mean, I'm saying that should be you too. So don't go with your fit watch and stuff. You know, go with a proper, go with a proper watch. Okay, a bag, heels, you know, not too high. You know, I know this is like Seattle. People are always ready to do a downward dog in their yoga pants and sneakers. So if you can't walk in heels, don't do it. Just, you know, wear 2 inches. You could find some nice one with some thick heels. You'll be fine. Right, flats, you know. I mean, I know like stockings and stuff, they go in and out, but I know like now people tend to wear like a lot of like patterned stockings. Just take it easy with the, you know, the lace and the fishnets, and you know, we don't want to give them the wrong idea. Okay, and then your hygiene, right? Because once again, all of that goes into your nonverbal, right? So just some examples, and always think about, you know, like your earrings and so forth. You may have multiple holes, but according, as I say, if you're in the fashion industry, you may be able to get away with a little more edge because it's fashion, but in a more, like, what's the word I'm looking for? A less fashion-forward environment, those things you may come across as if you're not one of them. You know that kind of code language, which sometimes is not used for good, but in terms of a job, they want to make sure that you're one of them. So if they just come to work looking very laid back and casual, then they feel as if you're one of them, right? So you may want to just leave some stuff home. Like you don't have, I want you to be authentic, but your dress is something that you can have dressed for different environments, right? So a good example of this would be when the presidential candidates, they go to Michigan, Detroit. Tell me what they wear. Let me see if anyone knows. When they go to Detroit, do they dress the same as the other thing? What do they wear when they go to Detroit? How do they dress? Jeans, and what else? What color shades? Red shirts? Purple? Okay, how do they wear their shirts? Is it a jeans, a shirt, and a jacket and a tie? No, what is that? A jeans and what? Oh, I'm so sorry, darling. I didn't even see. And trust me, I left my glasses home, so I can't even see you anyway. So you do it. Okay, good. Yeah, hey, I could kind of see you. Hi.
They roll their sleeves up.
Exactly. Exactly. Intentional. You don't even know you're being manipulated, and they already figured that out. They're like, oh, when we go to Detroit, they want something from Detroit. They have votes. So if they show up kind of like in their suit and tie, the worker's going to be like, you don't get us. You're not one of us. You see what I'm saying? Like, if you watch the presidential candidate, like that is where it's the highest job in the country. So you know everything is so intentional. So intentional. So sometimes I tell my students it's not about being the smartest, it's about being the most strategic, right? And some people just put a little more work into studying their goal and figuring out how to access their goal. I mean, you don't want to be the least intelligent, but I'm just saying sometimes the brightest person may not have the social skills or the understanding of context, so they don't get as far maybe as they could, right? Because people still have to want to give you an opportunity. So that's what I'm saying. Like when you go into different settings, you don't always have to go as the same person all the time, you know, in terms of your dress. So men, You know, you have your 2 to 3 button suit. You know, they always say, you all should know this stuff. When you sit, you kind of unbutton your jacket so you don't look stuffy, you know, and uptight. Herringbone or pinstripe, that's fine. It's kind of standard, nothing too, you know, outside of the norm. And, you know, everything should be fine. Overcoat, dress shirt, ties, cufflinks, you know, lace-up shoes. Now, these are things you should just have in your essentials, right? Socks. I love socks because I feel like this is the opportunity that men have to really express themselves, right? Because, I mean, like, the socks game is tight now. I mean, it is fun. Like, I buy all these socks and carry for my daddy and my brothers, and they're, like, so proud. So my dad, I'm a clown because he's a clown, but he was like, oh, Ray, I went into work and I lift up my pants and I stepped like this so they could see his socks. I'm like, okay, daddy, this is good. He's 70, trying to be cool. But the point is, like, you may go into, like, a very, what's the word I'm looking? Kind of vanilla setting, but you could still feel as if you're being you by wearing, like, cool socks and different things like that, right? Okay, so belt, leather briefcase, umbrella. An umbrella is important not only because it rains in Seattle, but I think as a man, like, now you're being judged also by women. If according to, let's say you're going in an accounting firm and they're, like, both male and female. I know this because my friend worked at E&Y. But you may be going to lunch or being interviewed by women and men, and I think like they are just subconscious things they pick up on. Like you still have to kind of be a gentleman in that role, right? So like if you step outside and it's raining and you are prepared and you open the umbrella and be like, oh, let me get you, she'll be like, oh. It's just the small things that go a long way. So that's what I'm saying. You have to understand your target market, understand who you're interviewing with, and work that angle. I had this guy come and talk to my students. He's a director at what do you call it? Not like a talent agency, but like a temp. Is that a temp agency? That's not the point. The point is that he was telling them how to network. And he was saying, which was really, I mean, he's phenomenal at networking. He was like, my past 6 jobs, I never applied. People brought jobs to me. He was like, it's because I figured out how to network strategically, right? So he was like, he told them, you should get to know the person and the people you're interviewing with even before you get to that job. So he told them, you look them up on LinkedIn, you look them up on Facebook, basically you stalk them, right? Right, but I mean, and then you look at them and see what things they're into to kind of give you that edge. So you know, like, so point is, in this example, you should ask, like, who's your panel, like, is there a list of panel members or whatever? And if you know you're going to be interviewing with males and females, you go into that interview with a different mindset. The point I'm saying is as much information as you can arm yourself with is the better you could go and present yourself. You see, it's a lot of strategy. That's what I say. It's not about the smartest. It's about the most strategic, right? So dress versus sports, watch, haircut, accessories, no accessories. Well, I mean, once again, if you're going to interview at a tattoo shop or something, I mean, I guess you could do what you want. Okay, so men's garments, a big part is the dimple. Your tie don't look the same if it doesn't have a dimple. And I kind of like this. As I said, y'all will get this. It's kind of like this little chart I found, and it told you, like, if you're wearing a navy suit, you could wear the black or brown shoes, mid-gray black or brown shoes, charcoal go with black, brown go with brown, black go with black. And I think that's like a cute little guide. I saw it and I'm like, I don't even have to invent that. I'll just take it from the interwebs. Yeah, okay, good, right? So you kind of like match your shoes and so forth and have one of those classic, simple, clean-cut shoes. Okay, as I said, your socks, your jacket, of course. I mean, unless it's really cold, you show up in the interview with gloves. But other than that, you may look like a smooth operator, so you can leave your gloves. It's fine. Yeah, so nothing much on this. General, of course, you have your resume and stuff. Of course, get a nice folder. I think you all will get one of those, right? You could get a nice SPU1 or another one, whatever, your umbrella, your pen. Always have a nice pen. Like for men, I think people look at your shoes, pens, watch. Is there anything else they look at? I mean, besides you. Yeah, I think shoes, pen, watches, yeah, definitely. Always have a nice watch. Okay, so there's just some little things. Like I was one, as I said, as an international student, I had to figure out very economical ways to get by and look the way I wanted to look. So what I had to figure out is how to shop at Ross or Marshalls or wherever, but still find like good quality garments. So the point is that you can find stuff anywhere once you know how to assess the fabric. You know, would it shine if I iron it? Does it look cheap? Is it see-through? Does it pill? The seams, look at how it's stitched together. When you pull it, is it pulling apart? Right? The hemline, did they stitch it evenly? And especially when you're doing bargain shopping, you definitely want to know these things. Check your zipper to make sure it's working well. Buttons, are they laid evenly and are they secure? When you put it on, no tugging. And I mean, I think as a female, that was one of the hardest lessons because you always want stuff to fit, but then you have to make, so you don't want stuff to be too big and you don't want it to be too tight, right? And you just have to self-check yourself, you know, and just understand this is not for the club. This is not for the club. This is for work. So maybe I should go with something a little looser. I mean, I know it's tempting, elastic. So then you have lining. You know, put it on, move around in it. Am I going to feel comfortable if I'm interviewing for a day and it's in the summer and it's kind of hot? Is it going to be pulling and tugging? And even for women, like if, well, clearly women, you'll have a jacket with lining. But definitely that's where maybe you could use a stockings because stockings will help with linings and so forth. And details, right? You don't want anything to, I mean, it's okay if you're bargain shopping. I got a lot of top brands bargain shopping, but make sure that they don't have any like details that just distract, right? You don't want to distract. So this slide is just saying that fit matters and wrong fit is distracting, right? So you may have borrowed your friends or your brothers or your daddy's suit, but it's still not it, right? Because you're swimming in it. Like they know you borrowed it because they know like no self-respecting salesperson will sell you a suit that big. So the point is, either you just don't go too big and you don't go too tight, right? Okay, good. And then you just little things like this, like when you get the chart, you would see where you could look at, where is it? You could look at like where like, oh, where's the rest of that? Some of that stuff missing. Amazing, where is it? Okay, it's gone. But you have to look at, okay, so maybe the one will have the writing, this is weird. But all of these things, like they call it your arm side, all of them, there's a place where it's supposed to fit to indicate proper fit, right? And in this day and age, I think pants are not that baggy. It's more of a slimmer fit. But, you know, you definitely don't want to go with your tightest pants to the interview, right, guys? You know, you could leave that for somewhere. Okay. Right, and undergarments, I added this some years ago because I feel as if, once again, I don't know, like as an undergrad student, I just had to learn a lot of these lessons. You know, undergarments matter. They really, really matter. And people, I think, kind of underestimate how much undergarments matter. So this is here as a shocking reminder of what people are looking at when you pass by if you don't have any right undergarments, right? But it takes work. The time to start is now, right? It's okay. It's okay, right? Just all these different undergarments. You know, get whatever matches well with whatever you're wearing. Okay, so guys, and as I said, I don't think okay, so some people just don't know better. Some people just don't plan well, so they rush. You know, but I have seen all of these things grace a corporate setting. Like a guy wearing a undershirt with patterns on it and you're seeing right through his shirt. I mean, this is why people do these workshops, because even though it seems obvious when you're sitting down watching the PowerPoint slide, it is happening in the real world, okay, outside of SPU campus, as we speak. As we speak, somebody's at work in one of these, okay? So the point is just, you know, just plan and go get proper undergarments. That's what I say, you just have to plan so you don't have to rush last minute and get stuff. Now, I see this all the time with students. I mean, and once again, I may have been guilty of it once or twice. I mean, ironing is such a lost art. Anyways, dry cleaning is so expensive. So sometimes, you know, you just have to keep working on things. You're like, you know what, I've been guilty of wearing stuff that wasn't ironed well. Or, you know, it's casual, but they don't mean that casual. Or you have a good shape, but maybe not for the job. You know exactly what are you offering in terms of services. Or, you know, your top might be a little see-through. Or That's for after dark, right? So the point is just all of these things, trust me, it happens before you know it. And you're walking into the company and you look down and you're like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. There's no judgment here. It just happens, right? And then you just think through other things, right? You think through, like if you're not going to wear stockings, then you can't be too hairy. Scary according to where you're interviewing. They may like hair. They may like that. It's fine. No judgment. So your nails, all these other things, just think of the industry applying to and dress accordingly. So this is something I added some years ago to just because I want you to see it. Like you can get, like women, you can get a lot of these products, like, like the cushions for the balls of your feet and so forth. All of that, DSW, Ross, wherever. Just go and get them, and I always advise for you all to kind of get like a box. It's almost like get it now while you're not looking, because sometimes, as I said, life happens, and when you're interviewing, you're like, oh my God, and you look down, and you're like, my shoes are not clean, but then you don't even have the product. So I suggest just start to pick up these things and get a box and call it like your professional interview box. So whenever you need it, you could just go in and get it. So I just have these things here so you could think about it, because I feel as if it's the easiest thing to like forget, like not have cleaning products for your shoe or something else. All right, and appearance, mainly for women, in terms of makeup. Some people don't like makeup, but research has shown that women who do not like wear makeup, it doesn't have to be heavy makeup, but they, like how you could tell when some people don't have on makeup. I had to learn that lesson because I used to ask my students, I'm like, are you okay? Like, I wasn't accustomed, I didn't know. And they were like, I just don't have on makeup. I'm like, for reals? Right? So the point I'm making is that for some reason, there is a difference in your polish. And the research shows that when women, like, they're rebellious and they don't wear, like just even foundation, a little mascara for work, they have a harder time getting promoted and stuff. It's real bad. Like, once again, it's not right. Y'all understand what I'm coming to say to you? It's not right. It's not the Christian thing to do. But this is the world we live in. So it's either you decide you want to get ahead and do these minor things, or you don't. And that's kind of my message to you. Like, a lot of stuff is not right, but alas, you have to figure out how to navigate the trajectory you want to go for, right? So invest in your future. That sounds great, but I'm broke, double face palm. As I said, I went through that, but there are a lot of stores like Ross, TJ Maxx, Nordstrom Rack, which, could be a little on the, pricey bargain side, but still, you don't have to, like, buy everything at Nordstrom, right? You could go Nordstrom Rack, you could go Ross, you could go TJ Maxx, you could go Marshalls, you could go to the outlet in Auburn. Just invest in yourself and, like, be strategic. So in my document, I had that you could simply be more, like when people want to give you stuff for your birthday, like when you decide that you're ready to work on yourself, did I quite close the, I don't know, is this the up-to-date one? I don't even know why these things are missing. Anyways, yeah, so if you want to shop at the top retailers, I just used to like stalk all the sales and figure out when they were. Another suggestion I have is that just start being more strategic. Be like, look, you know what, I'm about to graduate. If my parents want to give me something, like just ask for gift cards. Just refocus your attention on building your brand and just like reassign your finances and so forth. Whatever. Okay, this is something like I almost did forget. So color, I told you all about power color, but what I want to also tell you is that this here is like money, right? Because people have these subconscious associations with color, right? So if according to the company you're going to, you could choose to wear something that reflects a color that means something to them, right? So if you're going to a company that's environmentally friendly, what kind of color you think? You see what I'm saying? Like, it's just simple things that, have you ever even thought about that? Like, I'm going to an interview, let me think of like how they positioned and marketed. You don't. But I'm saying that subconsciously, like that interviewer wouldn't be able to tell you like what you are doing. But I'm saying that people they're wired in a society a certain way, so you could use that knowledge to your advantage. And people wouldn't know why they're like it. They're just like, I like that person. You may have seen, I mean, going back to what the guy was saying about stalking people, right? Like on LinkedIn and Facebook, like figuring out their backgrounds before your interview so you could make networking easier. You never know, the person you're interviewing with could have a favorite color. Like when you see all the person's pictures, they may like wear one color all the time. You're like, that might be that person's favorite color. You may just show up in that color. How you doing? Right? The point is that, I mean, it's like, I'm not saying it's everything, right? I'm saying that it's like small things that people who are thinking a little more strategically than you are, they're doing and they're getting ahead, right? So all those colors have different associations. Like I know they would sometimes say, you know, wear navy blue more than black because black could come across very strong and aggressive, but navy blue could come across a little more subtle but still serious. Right? So just to end, I mean, my whole point to you is that I love Russell. The separation is in the preparation, right? And that's really how you're going to land the job before you speak. I mean, when your speaker already told you what you have to speak and say, right? Something smart. But when you walk in, just know that people are automatically like positioning you. And I don't know how many, I'm sure there was a workshop here where someone came and tell you that the receptionist or the administrative assistant, they're the ones oftentimes making that quick snap judgment, and they go back and they tell the interviewers like, oh, this one came in and didn't even talk to me, just came and sat down and was so rude. So then you already don't even get the job because you weren't nice to the administrative assistant or the receptionist, right? So as soon as you walk in, you need to be on your best game. All right, so fill out the last section of your brand image statement, which is, to achieve this goal before graduation, I will, what do you need to purchase? Purchase what, and what? You may not need anything, but. And then polish my what, and what. What are you going to polish? Are you going to polish your how you stand? Like, are you going to polish your, what's the word I'm looking for? Not comportment, but what is that? Posture, thank you. Oh, you're so smart. Yeah, polish your posture. You're going to polish the way you speak, or you're going to polish like your hair. What are you going to polish? Like what it is after you go purchase these items and you get your dress down. What about you feel as if, you know what, I could tweak some things about myself, right? Because you want like your dress to match with how you carry yourself, to match with how you speak, right? And then I'm going to research a company's what and what. Based on like the presentation, like what are you going to research about a company before you go interview with them? Yeah, so y'all finished that? Anyone wants to tell me what they wrote down? Did anyone complete all of it, or was it a lot to? So who completed it? You can, okay, tell me what you wrote like in your last part.
One of the things to purchase would be a link watch, and polish my shoes, and my sterling jewelry.
Okay, good.
And then researching a company's policy online, so calling everyone.
Okay, you're going to do that. Okay, anyone else wrote anything? Did you write something? Did you finish your assignment?
I didn't totally finish.
Okay. Did you
I was going to purchase just like professional wear in general.
Yeah.
I haven't gotten to that yet. And then just research, I think, like the setting and the work that I want to get to, like what the environment to get.
Yeah, you see, so now you have a game plan. I've given you a game plan, right? So this is the end of my presentation. Was that helpful for you? Like, yeah? Like, so tell me, like, what was different to you? Like, what do you think is the biggest takeaway? Because you thought I was just going to come and tell you about clothes, right? That's what you thought? I was just going to come tell you about, like, what to wear for an interview. So oh, you didn't think that? What you thought I was going to come and tell you? Oh, okay, so so you had an advantage. Okay, well, okay, but what is one of the things you feel like, okay, now I get it? Like, do you feel like you got anything? Don't hurt my feelings, please. Well, what did you feel? Okay, good. Tell me, what you felt like you got that you didn't think?
I think just like the attention to the small details is super necessary. That's like easy to overlook, and the time that's required to put into that. So it was a good, yeah.
Like reminder, like, oh, I have to plan. Because, yeah, you do plan those things, right? Okay, anybody else? Like, what was, like, transformative for you in your head? Yeah.
It wasn't necessarily the first time I've heard it, but going and buying these things now before you even have an interview set up, just so that when that day comes, you're like, oh my gosh, the interview to prepare for, and all this other stuff to buy.
Yeah.
Just planning ahead.
Yeah, plan ahead, yeah. Yeah. Because it happens to all of us, like no one is perfect. But if you prepare, then, you know. Anyone else? Okay, gotcha.
I understood like having repetition and like, you know, making yourself consistently like your appearances up to expectations, but the trademark thing was kind of new. Just like little things that make you stand out a little bit.
Yeah.
Make you a little bit more memorable, not just that you have a consistent like look.
Yeah. Yeah, things that make you unique. It's like small things you could do that, you know, make people remember you better. Okay, guys. One guy, like anybody like leave with anything, my boy? Guys.
Definitely expanding my thoughts on what a brand is.
It's kind of mind-blowing, huh? When you start thinking of how these companies are manipulating us, I mean, they're doing a good job. You can't be mad at them. You just have to learn, you know? But they're doing they spend a lot of money doing it, but I think this researcher, this theorist used to call us sorcerers' apprentices. It's almost like they come up with this whole retail strategy to get your money, and they do it so good, and we're just like so loyal to them that you don't even think about it. So that's kind of like what you want people to do with you. But if you have any questions, I will stand here. But other than that, thank you for being fabulous. And I'm always here, so. Everybody.